Welcome to 29 here, another Topic of the Week video. This week, Star Wars Month continues with a Ren review. Oh yes, this week's topic is going to be talking about one of the worst characters in Star Wars, Kylo Ren. This week's topic was submitted by Hedge on my Discord, and their topic is, what would you do to make Kylo Ren a compelling and interesting villain? Quite a lot, actually. Now, before I talk about what I would do with the character, I need to talk a little bit about why he's such a bad character. There are a lot of issues with Kylo Ren. Mainly the fact that he's just not very interesting. He's not scary. He's not sympathetic. They try all of this stuff and it just doesn't work. Especially when you take both of his appearance in The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi and all of the stupid stuff that happens, it's like, yeah. First off, one of the biggest problems is the fact that he's the son of Han and Leia. Apparently their only son. And oh boy, he's just a really terrible copy-paste of Jacen Solo. You know what? I'm sorry. That was a little bit mean. He's worse than Jacen Solo. Why? Why would you do this? Why would you take Han and Leia's relationship and trash it for this? People love Han and Leia. This is one of the biggest issues with it. It's like, oh yeah, Han and Leia got together. They had a kid. And then that kid turned to the dark side. Their marriage fell apart. Han left her, and then you just no. Bad. You don't take the characters that we cared about, piss all over them, destroy their lives, and then go, yes, but we created this very mediocre at best villain. That was so worth destroying these characters and a beloved romance from the original trilogy. There's also the fact that his backstory is just not very well thought out. We've gotten numerous explanations on why he turned to the dark side, and some of them just outright contradict each other or just don't really make sense. Because we were told at one point, Leia and Han were just really negligent parents and just didn't treat him right, so then he turned bad. Oh, thanks? Oh, no, wait, actually, him turning bad is what made their marriage go bad. Oh, okay, so how did he turn? Snoke. So how did Snoke turn him? Reasons. Oh, no, wait, no, I'm sorry. It was Luke trying to murder his own nephew in his sleep. That's how he turned to the dark side. Okay, then how does Snoke figure into this? Who knows? And it's like, I'm sorry. He's supposed to be an important character. This isn't like the original trilogy. The original trilogy, you didn't need a grand explanation for Vader's backstory. It's nice to get a backstory for him in the prequels, but you don't need that to enjoy the original trilogy. You know the basic element of his backstory. So I would say, okay, we need at least some basic elements. If you want to dive deeper into Kylo's character and explain why he turned to the dark side, that's great. Do it right. I mean, the idea that he was one of Luke's former students is not a bad idea in concept, but the problem really is that Kylo, his backstory is like this really terrible clone of Anakin's backstory. What's so funny is that I've seen people who bash Anakin's backstory in the prequels and his fall to darkness and praise Kylo Ren. It's absurd. Anakin has reasons for his issues, reasons for his fall to the dark side. We still don't have a clear picture of Kylo Ren after 2 movies where they've tried to explain this. Kylo Ren is just a copy of the fallen Jedi who destroyed all of the previous order and killed the other Jedi, and wears a mask, and is evil. And that's not interesting. He seems like he'd be cool at first, but they don't do anything with him. Not interesting. And then you get into The Last Jedi, which is just a whole bucket of stupid. And then they try to tease Kylo Ren redemption which then just doesn't happen because he then becomes the ultimate evil bad guy. Yay! I'm glad we didn't waste our time with that, Ryan.
Cantaloupe.
Suffice to say, there are a lot of issues with Kylo Ren and a lot of things that I would change. Now, if I was handling Kylo Ren, if you had told me to write Episode 7 and I was, writing his character, so I'll outline the main changes that I do with Kylo Ren. I won't be going over every little detail, every character arc over across the 3 movies, but just the main stuff to give you an idea about his character. Arguably, the main change comes in his true identity. His true identity is not that he's Han and Leia's son, but actually that he's Poe's brother. This is actually the first thing I thought of when I was coming up with rewrite ideas. Very much like when I was rewriting Ruby, how I rewrote Cinder's character before anything else, because that was one of the big standout issues with Volume 2. But with Kylo Ren, I wanted to start with his character just because there were ideas I had that ways they could have made him much better. And I had this feeling like he should have been Poe's brother. This actually gives Poe a much stronger reason for being involved in the story. And in my own rewrite of The Force Awakens, Poe, Finn, and Rey are all working together for basically the entire movie. They are the trio. We were promised that, but never got that. So I wanted to give Poe something to do, because Rey is the main character. She's going on her journey of becoming a Jedi. Finn is a stormtrooper overcoming his First Order brainwashing. So he's got his whole arc about that, of becoming, a better man after he was basically made into just being a mindless soldier. And then Poe's arc is going to be about trying to get to his brother and trying to bring him back. In a lot of ways, this will kind of mirror some aspects of Luke and Vader with, the redemption aspect, and, especially in Return of the Jedi. But this will also mirror some elements of Obi-Wan and Anakin, where you've got some of those issues too, but also sort of like the brotherly relationship that they have. So over the course of the movie, Poe figures out who Kylo Ren is. He figures that this is my brother. So he does try to reach out to him and try to save him. He does his piloting stuff, but this is the more personal arc for him. This also gives Kylo Ren a little more personal going on with the main characters, instead of it just being, brah, I'm evil bad guy who fights you. I just feel like he needed something like that. And another detail here is that there would be the Skywalker and Solo children in the movies. Specifically in my rewrite of The Force Awakens, you'd get 2 of the Solo children, Aya and Bail Solo. Aya is the one who actually travels with them and acts as sort of the mentor character, mostly to Rey as, a Jedi herself. And she's actually going to get fights with Kylo too. And you've got Bail Solo, who's obviously named after Leia's adopted father, which is a much better name for a Solo kid than Ben, let me tell you that. So with Kylo being Poe's brother, this also brings in the fact that Poe and him, his real name is Darnell Dameron, they were friends with the Skywalker Solo children growing up. Poe remained friends with them, but Darnell ended up distancing himself from them as he was falling towards the dark side. So you've got this personal issue with characters like Aya and Bail with Kylo Ren, because this is someone who they were childhood friends with. Because Shara Bey and Kes Dameron, who were Poe's parents, were in the comics, and they actually worked with Luke and Leia in the Rebellion. So, incorporate them a little bit more into the story, and have them have been, friends with, Luke and Leia, and their kids were friends too. So you've got, the younger generation, like you've got Poe and you've got Darnell, they know the Skywalker Solo children. So that connection also adds more personal conflicts to the stuff with Kylo Ren. Because when you have Aya and Bail fight him, they're not just fighting, a Sith, or a wannabe Sith really. They're fighting someone who is a former childhood friend. So you've got a little bit of drama just in that. So all over the course of the story of the trilogy, Rey will become his rival. He's got this personal connection to a lot of these characters, which I feel is kind of necessary if we're supposed to connect with Kylo Ren more than him just being a villain. Then give him some of these personal connections. Show he was friends with these people. And really, with his relationship with Poe, have Poe try to help him, have Poe seeing the good in him. And actually have there be good in him. I would actually keep that bridge scene, but change it quite a bit. To where you have Poe meeting Kylo Ren on the bridge, and then that would be the first time he takes off the mask. Where you have Poe pleading with his brother to come back with him, come back to our family, to our parents. You've been gone for, like, I don't know, a decade. I don't remember the exact years that I set up. But it's like, come back to us. And then he takes off the helmet and you see his face for the first time. So that the moment where there's an emotional scene between two brothers, that's the moment that you get any kind of real humanization from Kylo Ren. He takes off his mask. You see his face. It's not just done randomly early in the movie. No, that's the first time, and it's a very purposeful thing because, okay, no, this is supposed to be him connecting to his brother, trying to reach out for him. And he doesn't side with him, obviously. He uses the Force to throw him out there after, he wants to kill him because, I'll get a little bit more into his backstory, but he's just like, I want to kill him, but, it's still his brother. And he can't do it. So then, he just slices the bridge so they can't follow him. And then Poe is just like, okay, he didn't kill me. And I know that there's still good in him. And actually demonstrate this. Have him argue with, like Hux and Phasma. Have them maybe be a bit more extreme, maybe. And have them, just want to wipe him out. And maybe he's trying to take a little bit more of a methodical approach and more surgical instead of carpet bombing. Maybe he is more reasonable. Maybe he does spare some people. Show him with something, anything that shows that there's more to him than just being the bad guy. Like, when he's attacking the village at the beginning, maybe there's someone who has, like, a lightsaber, fighting weapon, and maybe he's, like, very honorable in the duel. Maybe he lets him fight. He lets him pull out his weapon, then he fights him, and he'll kill him. But it would have been very much like a duel, in that, I let you take your weapon, this is my weapon, we fight, I win. And even when he kills the old man, don't make it so, like, vicious, but have it be something more, I don't know, a little dramatic and poetic, where, after he gets what he wants, he stabs the old man with the lightsaber and then holds him close and then says something, like, poetic, and so, like, you will become one with the Force, or something, something that sounds a little bit cryptic, because it's not just, oh, I hate you and I want to murder you. It's rest, old man, I just killed you, but I'm going to treat it as if it's like some sort of honorable death. You just give something that makes him a little bit more interesting. Another thing I would do with this character is actually make him more nerdy. Because going back to his backstory with Poe, he would have been sort of the nerdier younger brother, and then Poe was like the jock. He was everyone loved him, he was the great pilot, really charismatic, fun, everyone loved him, he was great at everything. And then his younger brother was jealous of him. It's like, and he was smart, but, his brother was this great pilot from a young age. He's the hot shot. And, really kind of building up his skills as a pilot. And the main villain of the trilogy would be an adapted version of Thrawn, who had basically reformed the Empire as the First Order, and he's been doing very manipulative stuff to try to keep the Republic from seeing them for what they truly are, including actually being involved with Republic, Senate meetings, but being a representative of the First Order, because, we're not an evil terrorist organization. And then he's got, paying off people and, pulling manipulative strings of people who may be Imperial sympathizers, so that, nothing really gets done against even if there's something that seems like it's wrong, there's so much bureaucratic red tape going on, so that Leia, Han, and Luke had to do something to create their own little group to fight against the First Order, and to explain why the Republic doesn't just come in and wipe them out. So Thrawn would have found Darnell, and Darnell would have turned down the opportunity to become a Jedi because he didn't want to do that. But then Thrawn comes in, and he plays like the Palpatine game, and he spends several years, sort of playing Darnell and twisting things, and he has these wounds. He's got his issues with his brother, jealousy and stuff, and he's just sprinkling salt in the wounds and just twisting him just enough to get him to turn to the dark side. And I really kind of want to show him being very intelligent, and even if he doesn't have the Force, he's manipulating Kylo or Darnell to become Kylo Ren, because he wanted his own basically Inquisitors, and that's what becomes the Knights of Ren. So he finds these Sith holocrons and he gives them to Darnell, and he gets him interested in the dark side, and he starts falling into this and falling deeper into his anger, and then Thrawn ultimately converts him, and that's how he becomes Kylo Ren. It's some sort of and Luke's off doing his own thing with the rest of his Jedi, so Thrawn takes advantage of Darnell being lonely and being just kind of a loner. So when Darnell gets into the dark side, he reads up on the history of the Sith. And the reason why his design is reminiscent of previous Sith like Vader or Revan is because he's trying to emulate them. He's obsessed with trying to become a Sith to gain that power, the power he felt like he didn't have. And it's supposed to be the easy way in, but that easy way corrupts you. And that's what it did. It very quickly corrupted him. He has these Force powers, and he developed them using training from, old Sith training. So he never had any real proper training. Like, no one trained him. So everything about him, especially the way he fights, is going to be unorthodox. He's very well trained. He's just weird at the way he fights. He's just very vicious and relying on the power of the dark side, which, is a very Sith way to do things. And it's why his lightsaber is so odd. And it's something that I read, I think it was in one of those data books or whatever, the supplementary materials, that's saying that the reason he has the two, offshoots on the hilt is because it had to redirect that extra lightsaber energy because it wasn't quite a stable design. Because he never had any proper training on this, and he's figuring this all out himself. And he became quite strong. And he then helped Thrawn recruit more Force-sensitive people into the Knights of Ren. Because Luke didn't just go out to everyone who's Force-sensitive and says, all right, you're in the Jedi Order. No, he allows people to choose. He doesn't just take them as babies. He lets them live their lives. He creates a new Jedi Order with his own rules. There's no restrictions on age. There's no restrictions on relationships and romances. That's fine. It's as long as you can maintain control and you don't lose yourself to the dark side, which is something that Luke would very specifically train people for because he himself has faced the dark side. And Thrawn is doing his best to try to get as many of these Force sensitive people to work for him. So he has several of them, and that's what becomes the Knights of Ren, with Kylo Ren leading them. So Kylo's got a very complicated relationship with some of the Knights of Ren, so it's more of a obey me or else kind of a thing. And he's very loyal to Thrawn, because it's kind of like with Anakin and Palpatine, where it's very unhealthy, but Palpatine made Anakin feel like he had to rely on him, and that's kind of what it is with Kylo and Thrawn. But Thrawn doesn't have any Force powers, so he's using his intelligence to manipulate Darnell. So that's a lot of the main stuff that I would do with his character. I think it gives him more of a concrete backstory. And you don't even have to delve all into that with the trilogy. You can touch on that in several parts and maybe have Poe talk about, their backstory. But, you can save this for a book or a comic or whatever, or TV show. You don't to dive into all the details, but all you need to do is explain enough that you understand where Kylo Ren came from. And with him having personal connections to several main characters, very specifically Poe, this gives him a bit more of a reason to have the conflict with these characters. He's already got a conflict with his brother. But this also gives Poe more of a reason to interact with the main plot. Because you can look at things like The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, and you can see they really didn't know what to do with Poe. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to give Poe an arc. Give him a reason to be with them and have a reason to interact with the villains. And having Kylo Ren be his brother is a pretty strong reason. And the whole idea of him being like sort of a nerdy Sith, this was actually an idea I had before I saw The Force Awakens. Because before The Force Awakens came out, Adrian and I were speculating all sorts of stuff about The Force Awakens. About the main characters, Rey's lineage, what Finn was going to do, him being a stormtrooper, what all Poe is going to be, what's his story. And then a lot of the speculation was about Kylo. And I love the idea that Kylo was specifically trying to model himself, after Siths of the past, like Darth Vader. Yeah, okay, the cynical explanation is they're just trying to ride the coattails of Vader's popularity by making a character that's in some ways visually similar to him. But why not take that and make it a character trait? I mean, don't just give him a mask with the distorted voice. Just to say, hey, he's kind of like Vader. Actually make it a part of his character. And, this idea that he becomes obsessed with this, he's trying to, channel them. And if you want to keep the whole, he has Vader's mask, what if he's obsessed with trying to talk to Vader? But, he can't. Vader isn't Vader anymore. Vader is Anakin, and he's a Force ghost. And he turned good. What if he, obsesses over this and treats it almost like an idol, like something he borderline worships? Give some real meaning to it, because the Vader mask doesn't actually really mean anything in the movies. If you want to keep that, give it some meaning. Otherwise, you can just have him be obsessed with these previous Sith, and it would be a really nice way to bring up Revan, just as a nice little reference, a little bit of fan service for fans, to have them go, oh, they mentioned Revan. Just little stuff like that, and the little stuff that I think really kind of makes him more interesting than just being a Darth Vader knockoff. So yeah, I think that about covers the main stuff. I will talk about how I would rewrite The Force Awakens overall, but this is the stuff that I was just talking about with Kylo Ren as a character. So yeah, that's about it. If you want to watch last week's topic video, you can check that out here. If you want to watch next week's topic video, you can check that out here when I get that done. So what are your thoughts on this? And what are your ideas on Kylo Ren? Are there any ideas that you have to make it more interesting? Please comment below. And thank you for watching.